This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Control that by Lacazette. It's got in! It's found a way in! And Alex Lacazette gives Arsenal a thoroughly deserved lead.
Hello and welcome to the Clock End Talk, an Arsenal podcast. Thank you for listening, thank you for downloading. I'm your host, Gunatez. You can follow me at Gunatez. Each and every week or every podcast that we seem to have, I usually have two blokes, and that I do this week. I've got Tony and Schwinn. You can get Tony at clockend_talk. How are you, Tony?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good day yesterday. I'm still not sure if it's a good result or bad result. You know, when you come away from a game or even watching it, whether you're there, watching it on TV, and you think, I'm not sure, did we deserve to win that? Did we deserve to lose that? It was just a bit weird. But yeah, apart from that, all good.
Yeah, been mixed reactions, but yeah, we'll get into that. And no, you bring up some interesting points straight away. So, and Schwinn at AFC. Schwinn, how are you, buddy?
Very good. Surprisingly chirpy after yesterday's result. Got to say that deserved the 3 points based on the performance, and I was feeling a bit dejected at the final whistle. But hindsight's a weird thing, and having had some time, I am sort of pleasantly happy with the way things turn out. Not obviously not ideal, but there are merits in that performance, aren't there?
Okay, and as we get down to this game and break that down in a second, we'll also get your questions. And we've got 2 weeks off with international break, so we won't be previewing any game. I just want to do a shout out to our Patreon listeners, and if you want to get involved with our Patreon listeners, you can also find that link on our profile. And you guys would have seen the North London preview podcast go out. I think it was Friday or Saturday. Saturday, was it? Yeah, Schwinn and me were going to do it, then Tony and Schwinn were going to do it, and it ended up being me and Darren. So, anyway, so that was a patron bonus that went out on Saturday, and then, so if you want to get involved with patrons, you can do, and thank you to all them patron listeners. Okay, Tony, let's get into this North London derby, 2-2 at the end. Line-up, mate, what was your thoughts on that?
So obviously for that Patreon pod, because I knew I wasn't going to be on it, I sent you my lineup about 3 days before, and I got 10 of the 11 right. And the one I didn't was Guendouzi, but I said to you Torreira or Guendouzi, and the reason I highlighted that we could only play one of them two was I thought the gaps between the attack and the midfield would be too big. And so again, when the lineup came out, I was a little bit disappointed because I could kind of half see what was going to happen, and I personally think that was a big issue during the game. Look, when he's picked 10 of the 11 I wanted him to, I'm not going to say I was spitting feathers and I was crying about it, but I was a little bit. I think it was a key, more maybe formation or role issue than the actual players on the pitch, because I thought with them players on the pitch, it'd be impossible to change. It's not like if you started, say, a Ceballos in a deep midfield and then you could switch it around and push him up to a 10. I think with them three, no one was ever going to be able to do the job. So a little bit, I don't know if disappointed is the right word, but I was a little bit fearful when I saw the lineup.
Okay, Schwinn, what was your thoughts, mate, when you saw that lineup come out?
As expected. I mean, I got the 10 out of 11 correct as well, but the one I got wrong was Nacho, because, of course, he left the club with just a day before the fixture, I believe. And I expected us to start with Granit, Torreira, and Guendouzi in midfield. I didn't want us to start that way, but that's what I had thought would be the case. And I expected us to, for the first time, start Aubameyang, Lacazette, and Pepe. The lineup, again, didn't surprise me either, but it left me sort of worried, as Tony very eloquently said. There was that missing link, and we saw that change as soon as Ceballos came on later in the game, which we'll get into. Look, it's one of those things with Emery, you just don't know what he's going to pick, but I think he is slowly finding that mix, and as he's starting to do that, I worry for some of our midfielders, and I'm sure we'll speak about Granit, but I'm not quite sure how he's going to fare with this high energy midfield, especially when you have players like Torreira, Guendouzi, and Ceballos who tend to move forward quite a bit, and it's him left, it's Granit left just stranded in midfield, and he just doesn't have the legs to quite cope. So that had me worried, and of course, that sort of was a nail in the coffin in the first half. So a fear that came to fruition, but we'll talk about that, of course.
Okay, Tony, I'm going to get straight into this match, mate. We came out first half. Look, I'm going to start on the Eriksen goal, but if you want to go up to that, then first 10 minutes, mate.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about any incident before the goal, but I thought we was on the front foot. You could still start to see problems, though. The midfield was very empty. And they were leaving 2-on-2 at the back. I mean, as in they were leaving Kane and Son up, and obviously Son's pace is frightening, and we were just leaving Socrates and Luiz back, and you could see it as a recipe for a disaster before anything happened. Having said that, I've seen a lot of people blame a lot of different people for the goal. Luiz should have done this, Socrates should have done this. I'm sorry, and I like the guy, but that is unacceptable from Leno. And he knows it, and he made up for it. So I'm not completely digging him out, but no one can expect your keeper to make a mistake like that. I always say goals are usually bound of 3 or 4 minor mistakes. And I can see the point. Socrates maybe shouldn't have gone the ball. Luiz maybe did get beat a little bit too easy. But Leno's mistake is catastrophic. If a keeper makes that mistake, a goal scored, and it doesn't matter if everyone else had been perfect. A keeper can't make that mistake. As I said, he made amends. But that goal was just purely bad organisation defensively, but a massive, massive keeper error.
Okay, you got any touch on that, Schwinn?
I want to say I completely agree with that. What I will say is that I over the last season and some of this preseason, I feel Leno has very strong hands, and yesterday, of course, is a point against that. But I felt his footwork as soon as the shot came in let him down. And that's the reason why his hands weren't strong enough, because he was on full stretch. And he showed that he has strong hands when he made a fantastic save from that Son save. So I'm not too worried about his hands per se. I think he has good, strong hands and can usually pick out balls that are going into the opposite corner. But it's his footwork that let him down. I think he just set his feet in the opposite direction and just couldn't quite get his hands. He has to do better there. There's no doubt.
I mean, I agree with you, but I genuinely think he probably could have walked across and picked it up. Also, I still think, even though his feet were bad, once he got 2 hands on it, and I think once you get 2 hands on it, he should be taking that ball in. And I think he knows that. He didn't try and parry it. He tried to take it in. And interestingly, I saw a stat after the game. I don't 100% know if it's true that since he's been in England, he's made more errors leading to goals in the Premier League than anyone else. Which, look, I think he's been good for us. Again, I'm not slating him, but you know how this narrative would go if it was a couple of other players. Yeah,
look, I agree with both you guys. It was pretty piss poor by Leno, but I tell you though, it's this Arsenal defence, and it has to be one of the worst fucking bunch of fucking clowns that I've come across in the Arsenal, who wears the Arsenal shirt. In the last 2 seasons, we've got in David Luiz, which is okay, but he's a bit loose. I like him and I like what he does, but he also has his downs, and that's what worries me about him. He's always running up and out of position, almost like a midfielder, and our defence is so fucking woeful to start with. So
I'm going to go more into this later, but it was Hector's fault, and then he went out, and it was Mustafi's fault, or it was Senderos's fault. Do you know what I mean? It's always someone's fault, and then they come out, and it's exactly the same.
That's what I mean. So look, we'll go in it now, because what is the go? Like, here we are, 2 seasons 51 goals last year, 52 the year before. I'm not sure how many we're up to now, but it's just woeful defending. It's absolute woeful defending. And I listened to Tony Adams talking at half time. I very rarely listen to the commentators, and I seen him on the TV, and I thought I'll just flick it up and see what he has, and he was absolutely slating him, saying about the defence and David Luiz and whatnot, and then we'll get into the Granite stuff in a minute, but it just. Mustafi's out. I agree with what you're saying. Mustafi's out. Luiz is in. Socrates, he's there. Bellerin's out. It doesn't matter who's there. It's just a fucking shit show every week. And I don't know. It has to be the setup. Has to be the setup.
Yeah, look, I mean, I've been saying the system for as long as we're doing this podcast. I've been saying it's the system that's the problem. When you have all these players go out and nothing changes, nothing at all changes, then what else can it be? And I also think Arsenal fans, I was actually talking to my friend in the pub about this yesterday, and again, I've said it before, when someone's out, they become the best player in the world. And then when they come back, nothing changes. So, look, and Schwinn was partially one of them, and this is not a criticism, didn't rate Hector a year ago. Now suddenly he's out, and when he comes back, we're going to be world class. Fuck off, you didn't want him there 9 months ago.
I know.
That's a general comment.
Yeah, no, I know.
And every time someone's out, Tierney's already the best left back in the world. He ain't kicked the ball yet. Holding is Pele and Maradona formed in a defensive version. But when he was there, we were still doing this shit and making these mistakes and conceding these goals. I rate Holding. It's nothing against him, but as Arsenal fans, we can't just go in, it'll be all right when someone comes back, because it never is. It never has been. It's not been all right for a long time. So we can't just go, yes. It's not the system's fault. It's just because Holding's out. And then when Holding's out, but Hector's not there, it's not a full strength.
I get what people are saying. I get what people are saying. They're looking at it. Look, they're looking at it with rose-coloured glasses. They're going, well, Bellerin's coming back, Holding. You could throw. I've seen people arguing, saying Chambers should have started. Tierney's going to be there, and so on.
But nothing ever changes. Barring Tierney, because he's not played, when them players have played, we've still done the same shit. So, as I said, it's this thing with Arsenal fans, and we do it so much. When someone isn't there, like the saying absence makes the heart grow fonder is just the perfect way you can put this. Because as I said, Hector, loads of people moan about him, we didn't want him there. He's shit, he can't defend, he doesn't offer enough going forward, he's got no technique. Suddenly he's out, and it's like, I can't wait till Hector's back. What? Like, I know, literally, this time last year, people were saying, Lichtsteiner should start over him. People genuinely had that opinion. Now he's out, he's the best right back in the world, or top 5 in the world. Fuck off.
No, I don't know. Okay, let's get on to this. So, I'll let you go with this, Schwinn, because you were pretty pissed off. But Granite Shack, and I will say, most people know that I'm a Granite fan. But that fucking was the worst. Once again, it was just just a dumb moment. I don't get it. I don't know why he wants to slide around like a fucking clown for. He's starting to really piss me off, to be honest. Go on, Schwinn.
There's no reason for it. There's absolutely no reason for it. I mean, as Tony said, we played very well for the first 10 or so minutes, and then we conceded a cheap goal. A string of errors followed by a blunder on the side of Leno. We do well to keep our heads above the water. Past Arsenal sides have sort of struggled, but we've seen over the last season and continued this season that we've sort of stayed in the game psychologically. And we continue to pile on the pressure. And, we are trying to test them. No definitive chances as such come to mind, but we are knocking on the door, right? And then out of nowhere, Spurs break again, and we retreat well, try and provide cover. I thought AMN on the day just quickly was very, very good in recovering and keeping Son at bay. I think he even forced Kane and Son to change for a while. That could also be because of Kolasinac's energy levels dropping, but I thought Maitland-Niles was very good yesterday. And coming back to this incident, we see Granit just completely come and wipe him out. If I'm not wrong, I think that was someone close to Son as well. He wasn't quite, just by himself. And what really pisses me off about all of this is, Granit sort of struggled in the first half. Guendouzi and Torreira emptying the midfield sort of did leave him stranded, and there's not a whole lot he could do in other circumstances. And he did very well to get over the hump in the second half, where I thought there was a marked difference. He brought a lot more stability, and he was a bit more vocal, I thought, in keeping players close to him. And that's sort of what you need from a captain or from any player who knows he's going to struggle in the absence of some support. But it's these instances, we've slated Mustafi for so long. We've given him his credit when he's performed well. And even in games where he's had a 7 on 10 or a 9 on 10, but that one mistake has cost us the game or cost us points. And that's exactly what Granit is now developing in his game. There is no room for it in a team that's competing for the top 4 when there's other, 5, 6 teams that are also really gunning for it. It's going to cost us a lot down the road. And I sympathize for him because he is less stranded. But that doesn't mean you go 2-footed in to, a player an opposition player in the box. It's just not going to win you any favors. They're prone to diving, a little bit of contact, and they'll try and get something out of it. So do not force the referee to make a call. And at that point, he's just lucky not to get away with a straight red. I mean, I don't know how he didn't even get a yellow for that. So it helped that was the case, and we kept on and, got a point from the game somehow. But that could have been the game right there if he got it red and he was off, 2-0 down, 10-man down, 20 minutes into the game. I wouldn't blame the Emirates faithful for walking out of the stadium at that point.
I think Tez has gone on holiday, so I'll just chime in with what I was going to say anyway. On the card, to be honest, in the stadium, it was obviously a penalty, but I thought, and this is the only reason I can assume the ref didn't book him, I thought he slid in to block a potential shot that Son didn't take and end up wiping him out. At the time, I thought he was a bit unlucky. That it was a penalty, but it was a bit unlucky. Obviously, having seen it back, 100% penalty, he wasn't unlucky, he was an idiot. But I think that's why he didn't get booked, because I assume the rest see it similar to sort of how we did in the stadium, especially from my side. In terms of the rest of what you said, I'm probably a bit controversially. I thought obviously aside from that moment, there's no excusing it. I thought he actually had quite a good game. Again, I don't know if I've seen things differently in the ground, and I've only seen a highlights package since. I thought Torreira was horrible. And again, most people I spoke to in the ground and after the game thought the same. So I don't know.
I'll just back it up a little bit. Sorry. Yeah, I was just going to say, look, I didn't think, just because you were talking about Granit, I thought he went all right. Yes, he had that real stupid fucking dummy moment, which he does, and it cost us a goal. And it goes back to every week, and okay, look, we paid $30 million for him. He's not, he's no fucking 80, 90, $100 million midfielder, but everybody will look at that one mistake and they'll be going, I want Granit sold, I want Granit out. And I've seen it every all day on Twitter.
This is the reason I bring up the Leno, that he's made more mistakes leading to goals in the Premier League since he's been here, because I don't want any of our players abused, but why are people not coming at Leno with the same energy they're coming at Xhaka? Because for me, as I said, I thought he was good aside from that moment, which is unforgivable. And I thought the exact same of Leno. Whatever rating anyone's giving Leno, for me, I would give Xhaka, because both goals are ridiculous errors from both of them. And apart from that, I thought they were both pretty, not great, but okay, average, a bit above average, apart from them moments. But you see the energy with one, and I know someone's going to say, but Xhaka does it all the time. But again, this is why I bring up the stat about Leno about since he's been in the league, because the stats tell you that Leno does it all the time, or comparatively. He's the most errors leading to goals in the league. There's a lot of stuff where, and I say this all the time, where agendas get in the way and they blind people. I've seen people moaning at Xhaka for getting booked at the end. It was probably the best yellow card he's ever going to take. Kane spun him on the halfway line. They were 2-on-2. He's wiped him out. Got the booking, took the booking. I've seen people, fucking Xhaka getting booked again, another mistimed tackle. Are you actually stupid? Do you not understand the game we're watching? When Lacazette done that, everyone fucking had a wank. And rightly so, Lacazette done brilliantly. I'm not digging out Lacazette before someone goes, Lacazette. But
you know what really blew it away for me?
It depends who does the thing. If someone does something well, it depends on who's doing it, as if it's good or bad. Lacazette, brilliant. Xhaka, same thing. Probably a better foul because a more dangerous situation. Oh, fucking Xhaka gets booked again. I'm not particularly trying to defend him, and I don't think long term he is the answer. But I just wish we would come at the players with the same energy for all of them. If one player does something and someone else does the same thing, react the same, which we just choose not to do.
Mate, you know what really fucking blew it to me? And look, I'm not going to single out anyone here, but Granit took a penalty and he had a shot at goal. I think if you look last season, he did a free kick. Sorry, not a penalty, a free kick, and he scored a goal. He did a similar thing last season and he got the goal. I can't remember who it was against now. But had he scored that goal, he would have been a legend. But because he actually had a shot at goal, fucking Granit going for them fucking long shots again. Fuck, he's useless, this cunt. Like, what do you want? What the fuck do you want? Do you want him to go for the fucking goal? I don't know.
This sounds like I'm massively trying to defend him, and I'm not particularly. I just wish that we as fans gave everyone the same treatment. And when he's bad, damn right, call him out on it. When he does stuff like he did for the penalty, fucking air it, because that is ridiculous. And as I said, I didn't think it was too bad at the time, but seeing it back, it is an absolute joke and not acceptable. But when anyone else does anything unacceptable, it's like, oh yeah, unlucky. Or as I said, Xhaka gives the ball away, and it's like, what a cunt. Guendouzi gives the ball away, and it's like,
he's good for a 19-year-old.
Yeah, like, again, I don't want it to sound like I'm defending him, because I'm really not. I just want us to be like, just when I say biased, like, we're biased towards our own play, like certain ones of our own players, and negative towards other. It's just fucking weird.
It is very weird. Look, yeah, I know the Granit. He had a fucking real blonde moment, and that is a real worry, and that's what Granit does. But you know, there was strengths in his game as well. Just on talking midfielders and that, boys, I don't know if you've seen the news that Pogba is out for an ankle injury, so Guendouzi has been called up to the France squad, which is...
I mean, yeah, I'm not surprised after yesterday, to be honest.
Yeah, so that was just I just seen a notification on my phone, so I just thought I'd mention it. Okay, so what are we? 40-minute. The Kane's. He's always going to get the penalty. He's always going to score. You know, you're never going to stop anything from Kane. He's got to be one of the best penalty takers I've seen. To be honest,
I agree.
Lacazette gets a late goal, boys, and it gives us a bit of hope going into the sheds at half time, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, look, as I said to my mate at the time, who was sitting next to me, as horrible as it is to be 2-0 down against Tottenham, at least it's Tottenham, because you know if you get one, they're going to shit themselves. They've got so much history for doing it that you know you're still in the game. Whereas if we were 2-0 down against, I don't want to say Chelsea, like, because you'll think of Chelsea of this season, but a normal Chelsea team, if you're 2-0 down, you think, game's done. Or even Man United, when they were on their strong patch last year, we went 2-0 down in the FA Cup, and we knew we'd lost that game. We came back to 2-1, and still no one believed we was going to win it. Whereas Tottenham, you just know what they're like. The goal, I thought Lacazette was poor yesterday. I thought he held the ball up well, but then his releasing of it was very poor. His passes were wayward. Even when they found the man, they were sort of a yard too in front or a yard too far behind or an awkward height. I thought he just had a game where he didn't look very sharp. Having said that, he took the goal unbelievably. Both touches were excellent, rifled the finish in. And to be honest, there was a lot of people around me saying, I think he could come off at half time because it's not working. We needed someone in a 10. And Lacazette has been, as I said, a bit loose. And then he scored that, and I think that brought him the extra sort of 15, 20 minutes. Great goal, great timing. I'm just going to go on I've seen a lot of people moan about the potential handball before. It would never in a million years was going to get given. But Danny Rose knew it was handball, and that's actually why we scored. Because he knew it was handball, he stopped, and then we nicked the ball off him. Had it been sort of normal, he would have just got rid of the ball or played a pass out. He stopped, we nicked the ball off him, and look, it's consequential. It's probably 20 seconds later. But that all came from Rose thinking it was handball, but never in a million years would VAR have given that.
We go into the sheds. We come out. I think we came out Schwinn the better team. In the second half, we trying to think. Emery I don't know, he must have got into him a bit. He changed a few things. But I thought we came out, a lot better than we started the first half, mate.
Yeah, I mean, we kept the tempo up. We sort of resumed from where the whistle was called, because as soon as we scored, the whistle blew for halftime, and we did well to just sort of take things on from there. And I think we then kept them at bay. If I'm not wrong, we had 9 shots on goal, or 9 shots in general in the first half to their 8. And the second half, we had 14 to their 4. So that really shows you which side the scales were tilted. So we really did well to keep that focus in. And as I said, psychologically, of course, that one goal helps to give you that slight boost. But and I think some credit has to be given to the Emirates. I mean, on the telly, at least, the Emirates looked really, really good yesterday. There seemed to be this energy. There seemed to be this belief before the game, something that I haven't felt in quite a long time against one of the top 6 sides, or top 5, I should say. And I think the players sort of embodied that. So very, very good psychological attitude. And even physically, I think we really did give Spurs something to think about.
Ceballos came on, Torreira went off, Tony, and mate, the energy Ceballos brought on when he came on. For a guy who's on loan, I'm actually really liking him.
He's muted.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, right.
Look, he completely changed the game, and more because we now had a link between the midfield and the attack, which was my worry to start with. Look, I thought Torreira was bad. Most people I've spoke to, or I mean, like online, no one seems to think that. In the ground, they did. I don't know if he's come off because of energy or because Emery thought he was bad. But Ceballos completely changed the game. Even coming on, he had a shot very early on. He was picking nice passes, just raised the tempo. And I maintain, and this is why I said it before the game, I think if he starts or anyone in a 10 starts, I think we win that game pretty comfortably, which is a bit frustrating. And I would have made the sub earlier as well, again, for the same reason, that it was blindingly obvious that there was no link between our midfield and our attack. But when he came on, it was a big game changer.
It's just goes to show, like, he's shown me his real professionalism, because, at Burnley, he really carved them up, and we all talk about Burnley as they're not a top 5 team, okay? So we'll talk about Burnley, and okay, he had a great game and man of the match performance. He got caught out against Liverpool, and it was always going to be my worry was, how does he come back against just a woeful performance against Liverpool? And they pressed him hard, they pressed him really fast, and he just didn't have time to move on the ball. Against Tottenham, I thought he was really good as well, and it just goes to show his character. He's come out, and you'd be thinking against Tottenham, well, they're a top 5 team, as much as you might hate to say they are, but they are. But I think, yeah, good credit to him. So it was good. 67th minute, there was a lot of fucking hoo-ha about this one, and we will comment as well. Mkhitaryan has also now left for Roma, and anyway, Lacazette came off, Mkhitaryan came on. There was a few Arsenal fans moaning, oh, fucking great. I don't know, boys, the way I seen it, I thought Lacazette was type of calling to get off when I seen the Torreira change.
Yeah, they showed it on the telly, didn't they? That Lacazette sort of signaled to the bench.
Just to add, it was blindingly obvious in the ground as well. So again, if people just come in with their agendas that their best player can't come off, even though it was blindingly obvious to both TV and live people that he wanted to come off. But go on, Sean.
I mean, it seemed like as Ceballos was making his way onto the field, Emery saw Lacazette making that gesture, and I think Emery was almost going to change the sub, but at that point the fourth official had put the board up, and then you could see this is what I gathered, but you could see by Emery's reaction that he's like, okay, let's just make the sub and we'll get someone else prepped. My issue is with the substitution. I don't think Mkhitaryan added anything. I would have much rather gone for a Willock in midfield, thrown Ceballos as 10, and then let Aubameyang and Pepe sort of play in a 4-3-1-2 up top. or maybe throw Mesut Ozil in there. But we know he may not be.
But you say that now. You say that now because Mkhitaryan had a bad performance. But what I was trying to get to people was at the time when we were playing very good football. We had the pressure on Tottenham, and as you said, the amount of chances we had, shots on target, stats, and all that. At the time, I was probably thinking, well, Mkhitaryan's probably the only bloke to go for Lacazette. I honestly wasn't thinking Willock or Ozil at the time. After the match, when I see Mkhitaryan's performance, I questioned the fact, well, shit, he probably wasn't the right substitution.
Well, look, I have no way to prove that that's how I felt when the sub was made because, there's nothing on record that I put on WhatsApp or on Twitter. But my initial instinct was, okay, he's going to bring on Willock. He's going to bring a bit more energy into midfield. We're going to go a bit more narrow and let Ceballos be between the lines. And that way, if you're going narrow there, then we can have, those three midfielders at the base to sort of provide a bit more solidity for the wings. That's what my initial gut reaction was. I did not believe Mesut Ozil had a look in because he hasn't played a lot of football recently, and the derby's maybe not the right time to throw him in at that point. I would have chosen Mesut Ozil over Mkhitaryan, though, I will say that. But Willock was my instinctual reaction.
I think I could see the logic at the time, to be honest. I think he'd just put Ceballos on in 10, and as you said, he would have changed the sub if he could have done. So then that kind of ruled out Ozil, and he wanted to keep width, which kind of ruled out Willock. For me, it was more Nelson was probably the one that could feel hard done by. Look, I'm not a big Nelson fan, but I think he was always going to bring on a wide man to get Aubameyang through the middle, and he wanted to keep the shape because we were on top. So I could see the thinking in it. Would I have brought on Mkhitaryan? To be honest, probably. Again, hindsight tells you no, but with what I could see that he was trying to do, especially as at the time Mkhitaryan was warming up and Nelson wasn't, and we needed to make that sub quickly. I'll criticise Emery as much as anyone because I'm not really.
You just dropped out of there, Tony.
Look, we come out after and we know what happened and you can criticise it, but in that moment I can see exactly what he was trying to do, and he was kind of forced by the situation. It wasn't like a planned sub because, as you said, he didn't want Lacazette to come on.
No, he didn't want it to happen. So it was planned, and like I said, mate, and a lot of people won't admit it. But look, okay, you do make a mention of Nelson, and I probably will say, yeah, okay. Look, Mkhitaryan for me was going to be the substitution. I could see it. I could think to myself, well, okay, there is a shout for Nelson. Not once in my mind I thought Ozil or Willock. Especially with Ceballos there. I just never even crossed my mind. But look, Mkhitaryan had a very shit performance. And you know what's bizarre about the Mkhitaryan substitution is he's now left and gone to Roma. Like, who would have seen that coming? Like, he just played 25 minutes and the next day he's out the door.
Yeah, I think also, just to go back, what you have to factor into that substitution is you're only allowed 3 people to warm up at a time. So it was Ceballos, Mickey and Ozil. Then Ceballos has come on and straight away he's needed to make another sub. So Willock and Nelson aren't even on the touchline warming up, and this sub needs to happen now. Again, I think that's another part in the fact that I honestly believe had it been Nelson out there warming up just because of the cycle, had it been his time, it probably would have been him that come on. It is as fine margin as that. And I don't think Emery knew about the Roma interest. I don't know if it was already there or not, but I don't think he would, because Emery doesn't play players if they're on the verge of leaving. We saw with Ramsey, he didn't play him basically from until January last year because he knew he was out the door and it was an unsettled future, blah, blah, blah. So I believe either Emery didn't know or that Roma hadn't shown any interest at the point, because I don't even think Mickey would have been on the bench otherwise. They'd have put Saka or Martinelli on the bench.
Yeah, no. It was,
Can I just quickly add as well that there's been a lot of chatter on Twitter about how this sort of mirrors the Chamberlain situation, and for me personally at least, and I think you guys would agree with me, I don't think there's enough of substance in this one, because Chamberlain was a starting player, someone who you could categorize as a key player, because we didn't quite have someone who could do that job at right wing back. I know Hector was in the team, but then that would have left our left side almost vacant because I don't think we had fit players in that regard. And Liverpool is a domestic rival, someone who we played just that weekend. And the Mkhitaryan situation is very different. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but for me, all that chatter is stupid.
I don't see any comparison at all. I mean, one Chamber started. I think the worst bit about the Chamberlain thing is everyone knew he was gone. So the Liverpool fans in the stadium knew he was gone and he was going to them. Whereas Mickey, there was not a single thought of him going until probably about 9 o'clock last night. Bear in mind the game finished at about 6:15, maybe 6:30. So I don't see any comparison whatsoever. I've not actually seen that comparison either.
Yeah, mate, and I agree. A lot of you guys know I follow Roma, so I follow a lot of Roma on Twitter, and I follow a lot of like you boys might have a source, or whether it be a source or whatnot through Arsenal and whatnot. There's all them through Roma, and there was not one fucking whisper from anybody that he was going to Roma until 4 or 5 o'clock this morning or something, whatever time that is for you. And that was it. It was like Chris Smalling of Manchester United. There was no whisper of him going to Roma 24 hours prior to him going. It was like, oh, there it is. He's gone. Fuck. So Roma are not leaking anything, and there's nothing being leaked at all. Where usually you hear a couple of whispers about something, but nothing, not a thing. We'll just speak a bit more about Mkhitaryan after we finish this. So Schwinn Aubameyang gets a goal, assist by Guendouzi, 71 minute, takes us up to 2-2, mate.
Look, Guendouzi probably had one of his best games in an Arsenal shirt, or perhaps the best game in an Arsenal shirt. But there is no way. Aubameyang has no right to score that goal. And I'd argue there's very few players in the world who could score that goal. I didn't believe for a second that was going to go into the goal when Guendouzi struck that ball. I wasn't even sure. I actually thought that he left it a bit too weak, and maybe he was going for a ball between the defenders as opposed to somewhere near the goalkeeper and the first defender. And how Aubameyang times his run and just sort of stretches to put that between the net, to me, is just absolutely elite play. Did not see that coming. Even when the net tripled, I couldn't react. I didn't quite understand what was going on. And I was even convinced that it's probably going to get ruled off for offside. But that is just absolutely outstanding striking play. Absolutely world class.
No, crazy it was. It was a good goal too. So obviously, that's how it finished. I'm just going to touch on a couple of yellow cards as well. Socrates got one. Tony, you did mention the Granite one. So did Granite end up with 2 yellows? I think. No, he didn't get a yellow for that other one, did he? No. Lacazette a yellow as well. So that's all our cards. Game finished 2-2. Man of the match, Tony. We'll go you 3-2-1, mate.
Free Guendouzi by an absolute mile. Look, again, people know I'm not the biggest Guendouzi fan. He was silly good yesterday. He ran the game. He drove everything I usually don't like about him, where I think he's too safe. Yesterday he wasn't, and I don't know if they've said, look, you're with 2 people that are pretty safe and secure, so you can take more risks. Both running and passing. He was passing the ball forward a lot more. He was a lot more incisive. But he was also running at people and driving them back. Maybe he was helped by the fact that there wasn't a 10 and there wasn't people taking up that space. But I can't criticise what he done yesterday. And I did look at the numbers last night. I didn't look at them, sorry. Someone tweeted them. And his pass completion was only 82%, which will be very low for him if you look at his average. But I don't mind that when you're taking the risks and passing forward and trying to aid the attack. I read that it was his first Premier League assist for us, which again sort of shows more he's passing forward. So yeah, for me, a complete performance. I don't think he really saying he didn't really put a foot wrong. For the penalty, again, I think it's similar to the first goal in that Xhaka's mistake is the big mistake, but I think they had a free kick that Leno saved. And then Guendouzi should have put it as far away from our goal as humanly possible. He tried to roll a ball into Pepe, who had nothing on, lost the ball, and then obviously the penalties come from that. But barring that, which is so minor, it's like 10 or 15 seconds before they get a penalty. I don't think he really put a foot wrong.
Okay, Schwinn?
It has to be Guendouzi. I mean, no one even came close, in my opinion.
Okay, yeah, I'm in agreement too. I've got Guendouzi written here as well. We'll go with you, Schwinn, for your 2.
I'm going to go with Maitland-Niles.
You cunt.
Stole your thunder, did I?
Yeah, because no one else has been mentioning him. I thought he was excellent.
That's why
I thought he was very, very good. Yeah, and I mean, physically, we know he has it in him where he can make those recovery runs. And what really surprised me is how he's worked on his concentration. You know, I said a few months ago that he's someone who's used to playing in midfield, and that requires you to be very active and very turned on all the time. He's someone who's moved to the right back position and has to be a bit more passive. Now, yesterday we were attacking a lot. We were camped in their half a lot. That required him to make those runs forward to support Pepe or whoever's on the right wing, and at the same time be wary of the pace of Son or the precision that Harry Kane might bring when they were down our right side. And he was, I mean, we said Guendouzi didn't put a foot wrong, but I thought Maitland-Niles also was close in those terms. It's just that Guendouzi enjoyed a lot more of the ball, and the game went through him a lot. But for me, Maitland-Niles was very secure, and I think Hector Bellerin doesn't just quite walk into this team. You know, if Maitland-Niles continues to perform at this level, then Hector has some competition for him, which is always welcome.
You'll get absolutely lynched for saying that.
That's all right. People know I'm not the biggest Hector Bellerin fan, and I know you sort of singled me out without sort of.
No, I wasn't singling you out.
Today.
You're part of a million people that say the same thing. It's just obviously you're on this podcast, so.
Right, but I have never once advocated that I'm waiting for Hector Bellerin to come back into this team, because in pre-season and once the season has started, Maitland-Niles has been very secure. He might have made a mistake or two that is sort of eluding me right now, but he's had this incredible improvement, and I'm very, very happy with the way he's been performing.
Again, he's another one that I feel for. Again, look, I thought he was excellent yesterday, him covering round on Son. And it's hard to stop Son because he's very quick and he can go two ways, but Maitland-Niles is probably as quick and he's stronger, so he uses pace to keep up with him and then uses strength to bully him a lot of the times. And then when Kane switched over, obviously Kane is a hell of a lot stronger, but Maitland-Niles' pace shone through. I think he was very, very good yesterday. But then I don't know. I kind of feel like he suffers from the agenda thing that I think so many of our players suffer from, that he's not a right back, and he did make a lot of mistakes when he was first playing there. I think Liam on his rating gave him a 5. I think. I remember looking at it.
I'll come to that in a minute. Yeah, he's raised. So you're giving Maitland-Niles a 2 as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, so am I. I've got him down here as 2. And I'll just mention my 1. I've gone to Aubameyang. I don't. Yeah, it was I thought it could have been a busier game. I agree with Lacazette. For me, as you said earlier, Tony. Look, he got the goal. That was a brilliant goal. Does it deserve 1 point? I don't know. Some people might say it does. But I thought that he was a little bit poor. I don't know, a little bit fitness. He tracks back a lot, Lacazette. So, and then he's got a lot of ground to make up when he's coming forward. But Aubameyang's he's just always, he's always there, isn't he? And his pace and he's brilliant footballer, Aubameyang. So I'm going to give him a 1. Tony?
Very difficult one. I wouldn't go either of the strikers. I thought Aubameyang was almost anonymous on the left, and then, as I said earlier, I don't think Lacazette played that well. Can I give it to Ceballos on half an hour? Probably. I thought. Huh?
I was going to say Ceballos, but that's all right. Just give me back.
I was toying with one of the centre backs because I think they did keep Kane pretty quiet. He had one shot where borderline offside. I'm not sure if the flag would have went up if it went in when he hit the post, and then he had a penalty. And to keep Kane and Son down to that, and then Son only had one shot from the edge of the area where Leno made a world-class save. So I was tempted to say one of the centre backs, but I think Ceballos completely changed the game. So I'm gonna go him, even though he only played half hour, probably less.
So you agree, Swin?
I mean, I wanted to say Ceballos as well, but I'm going to go a bit left field, and I'm going to say Pepe. There's been a lot of stick that he's already gotten for some reason. I mean, I know he didn't have his shooting boots on yesterday, but this is the derby, and he's started, and the standing order would have been to any Tottenham player that rough him up, try and let him know that this is not going to be like any other game that you're going to be playing in the Premier League. And this is the first time he's starting a Premier League game, right?
Nice.
I think, with Aubameyang and Lacazette in that system, and I thought he was very good. Whereas the shooting boots are missing, I'm not taking that away from him. I do not think this was a 8 out of 10 performance or higher, but he has such talented feet. The way he gets out of these situations, is mind-blowing to me. And especially in the first half, he was playing on the opposite side of the pitch. So, of course, on the telly as well, it was the far angle. And I kept telling myself in situation that, yep, he's lost the ball right there. And I'm looking behind already to see where the danger might come from. And lo and behold, he's suddenly turned, left 2 defenders in the dust, and is cutting inside and trying to find options. I thought he's just out of pure excitement that he poses for us in the future. I'm just going to give him the 1.
No, fair call. Okay, no disagreements there. Everybody's the same except for the ones. No worries. And the ones are always hard. Look, like I said, I could have gone Lacazette, but just Aubameyang. I don't know how he got that goal. I agree with you earlier, Schwinn, fucking just out of nowhere. I've looking at, is it Liam? He's done his ratings, clockandtalk.blogspot.com. He's gave Emery a 4. Yeah, a bit poor. He's a
bit harsh.
A big paragraph there you can have a read of. So, and it explains on why he's gave him a 4. Leno a 6. He's saying the poor for the first goal, but made up for it with the fine saves, including one spectacular, one not long after the first. Tony must have worded him up here. Maitland-Niles, though. You didn't fucking word him up on Maitland-Niles, Tony. He gave him a 5.5.
That's what I said.
Yeah, not his usual self going forward and struggled to find his range, but handled himself just fine defensively and didn't do much wrong going back. So he's probably averaging a 5, I'd imagine. Where, as we've spoke before, Tony, we probably average a 6.
Yeah, but it's not the number; it's in comparison to other players. Because if you're averaging a 5, that's fine to say he was above average. But then there should be a lot of players below 5 or on 5.
Mkhitaryan's on a 5.
Yeah, I mean that's where for me it's silly. Yeah. You can't give Ainsley half a point more than Mkhitaryan.
Kolasinac is also on a 5. I didn't think Kolasinac was that bad yesterday.
His just positioning is just stupid.
Yeah,
yeah, I know. Every time he's standing somewhere, I'm just like, why are you standing there? For what reason?
Yeah, I know. But he didn't have a bad game. I've seen him play worse.
He's not a bad player. He's just always in the wrong place. He is the opposite to like Aubameyang. He can do fuck all game, but he's always in the right place. He could have had a tap in at the back post that we didn't speak about. If Kolasinac touch it. And I'm not blaming Kolasinac, but Aubameyang is the guy that's always in the right place. Kolasinac is the guy that's always in the wrong place.
Yeah, true. Okay, boys, so that's about wraps that up. It's got our man of the match. We've done the game. Do you want to mention anything quickly that we have forgotten about, Tony?
Yeah, just 2 things. I asked these guys before the game about who they thought got the man of the match on Who Scored, and it was Pepe. So I was quite surprised that Schwinn mentioned him. They gave him an 8.1, which on Who Scored is massive. Like, that's very high. Not for me, but I'm with Schwinn in that I think the criticism is stupid. I think that he obviously didn't have his shooting boots. I think he's trying too hard. But I think the rest of his game was pretty good. I think he needs to learn a little bit of when to use his feet. He gets out of a lot of situations, but sometimes he puts themselves in them. And when you've got you're getting the ball pinned up to you on the halfway line with a man on your back, that's the time to just release it. And he does it sometimes, but other times I think he gets a bit carried away. That will come. That's fine. I'm not worried about him at all. Sometimes you see new players and you think, I'm not sure about him. I'm not at all worried about Pepe. I think the criticism has been a bit harsh. The other thing I just wanted to bring up, what's your thoughts on the Harry Kane penalty? Not the one he scored right at the death.
I had one eye on the Arsenal game, one eye on the Roma game. So yeah, by that stage I type of flicked off from that.
Schwinn?
For me, it's obviously him trying to make the most of it. It is a dive. I think what a lot of people have said in the aftermath, like Alan Shearer and Gary Lineker, is that yes, you are taught to bring your body between the player and the ball. and I don't disagree with that. But it is at the same time a very obvious attempt to try and get something out of nothing. I think Socrates should be more wise. I think he is prone to using his body a bit more. And just like Granit gave the referee a decision to make, I think Socrates sort of gave the referee a decision to make. And if it was any other game, not the derby at 2-2, I wouldn't have been surprised if that penalty was given. And I think that's where we are in the game. You know, it could have gone either way, and we could have had the same conversation and said the same things. It's just that we were lucky on the day, and I think Martin Atkinson understood the weight of giving a decision there. And at the same time, Kane did try to get a lot more from it. You know, if that's a bit closer in terms of to the goal of the positioning, not that close to touchline, and I know what I'm saying is very situational, and that's not how decisions should be made, but that's just where we are in the game. I could have easily seen that being called a penalty. For me, we got lucky, I would say, and we got away with it.
Yeah, on the other side, I think it's blatant cheating. Do you know what it is with Harry Kane? I know the people have said this, and they will continue to say it till the cows come home. It's the way he goes down. He plants both his feet and jumps up like he's actually diving off a diving board with both his feet. I mean, if anything, the contact was in his back, and he ends up with both feet straight up in the air like he's diving into a swimming pool. I think, look, I know Socrates is a bit rash, but I think he's a bit unlucky because Kane's, instead of running towards the ball, which is completely natural, Kane's actually moved from one side of the ball to the other, which you would never try to do unless you're trying to con the referee anyway. And then he's slowed down. So he's made two movements that are just completely unnatural. Whilst legal, you're allowed to move across the ball and you're allowed to run a bit slower. But he's done both of them things, and he's already planted his feet together before Socrates has touched him, waiting for the contact. And it would never go down as a dive because there was physical contact on him, not enough to make him go down. But, I mean, that is trying to con the referee to the absolute maximum for me. I don't actually know what the referee gave in the end because he gave us a free kick but didn't book it. So I'm not entirely sure what the referee gave. And Ali got away with a dive just before that, trying to get Socrates sent off. Just more has to be made of this, especially the way Kane does things. I thought he was a bit unlucky against Newcastle not to get a penalty last week. I know it was after we recorded, so we didn't speak about it. But again, he does the same thing. He completely moves away from the ball, gets in the line of the defender, plants both his feet and jumps up in the air. He had one right in front of me just before that, but obviously I'm sitting 60 yards away from where they're trying to score. And I think it was Xhaka, where he went round him, not the one where Xhaka got booked, but he got in front, he just moved in front of Xhaka, jumped with both his feet up in the air and got the free kick. Refs have to learn that the way he goes down, you can see he's meaned it because it's a premeditated way of going down. It's not a natural, I've been fouled, this is how I go down. He pre-plans it. And for me, that maybe isn't dive, but simulation or conning the referee or whatever phrase you want to use, that's the height of that. And I'm really, and I would say this is playing for England as well, I really think it needs looking at because, again, he's getting away with it on a technicality that it's not a dive because there was some form of physical contact. But on any other stretch of imagination, for me, it's just plainly cheating.
He's a cheating cunt. That's all he is. Mate, he does it just about all the fucking games, like Newcastle last week. And I think I do remember this one now. I must have had a mind blank. I've watched so much fucking football. But he done it last week, and I said to you, and I think I spoke to Darren about it as well, VAR is going to find him out. He's not getting away with these decisions.
Actually, to be fair, you said that in the WhatsApp group, and this is where I slightly disagree with you because had either Atkinson or Mike Dean last week given them, VAR wouldn't have overturned them. VAR in England is not overturning fuck all, unless it's complete clear and offside obvious. Where it's fact. Yeah, I don't even like the phrase clear and obvious because some of these tackles I'm seeing are clear and obvious, but unless it's fact, then they're overturning. But apart from that, they're sticking with the ref's decision. So I know where you're coming from, but I don't think VAR is going to make a blind bit of difference. This is why I think the referees need to realise what he's doing. And it's not only him, but obviously this conversation's about him. But they need to realise what he's doing and the way he's making these contacts. Because you can't, otherwise, every time anyone's running, they're just going to stop and go down and get a foul every time. And I know Darren on the Patreon pod had a little dig at me about the David Luiz thing. But it will just get silly if the refs are going to deem that as a foul and he gets them, and they don't clamp down on it. Then the game is just going to be stupid because anytime you want a foul, you can get one. Instead of going for the ball, just turn your back and go down, and you get a foul every time. If they go with that, but I don't think VAR is going to make a blind bit of difference.
Right, boys, let's have a break and then we'll come back. And you didn't want to speak about anything else, Schwinn, on that game? You were pretty happy with
all
everything?
set.
All covered? Because we've been talking for an hour. We haven't even got any questions. So we'll have a break and we'll be straight back in a minute.
Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. I'm Swanson, host of the TV Tuners podcast. Every week on TV Tuners, me and my co-hosts, Keo Rain
Swanson, I need water.
and Stairmaster, review the latest in TV and discuss news, trailers, and even find time to play some fun games. Right now, we're working overtime to cram as much TV knowledge into our brains as possible. Isn't that right, guys?
Swanson, we've been here for 24 hours. We need to get out of here.
Not until you answer who Norm is.
He's Fraser's brother.
Wrong. You get the shock. Check out TV Tuners, available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, or any of the podcatchers of your choice.
Okay, we're back for some questions. You can get your questions in, usually after the game at @clockend_talk. Now, I got in trouble for this bloke's name last week, Schwinn. Darren pulled me up on it, but I'm still going to run with it. Old Ballwinder. How are you, buddy? He did DM me and say this is how I pronounce it, but I'm sticking with Ballwinder. So he says, why was Nelson or Ozil not brought in after substituting Lacquer? There's no point asking you this, Schwinn, because you thought probably the same. One, had Nelson played, he would have been injected pace from the left flank. Had Ozil played, he would have pushed Xhaka in the left area, but he would have played Pepe and Aubameyang direct.
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I didn't even think of Nelson. I mean, when Tony brought up Nelson at the top of the show, I was like, forgot about him. So he wasn't someone I had considered, and I think it's just he just fell a victim to the pecking order is what it came down to. I would imagine Willock would be a bigger option for Emery than Nelson was. So not quite sure. Having listened to Tony, I think there is at least a conversation that needs to be had as to why Nelson was not brought on or considered. Of course, he mentioned who all warmed up and the regulations there, so that might have something to do with it. Mesut Ozil, I mean, he hasn't played football in a long time, hasn't he? I wouldn't have thrown him in. As I said, for me, the number one option was Willock, and that obviously didn't suffice. So there's my response to that.
Okay, Sandeep says, what are the chances of less than Everton or West Ham breaking into the top 6 or top 4 this year, Tony?
I don't think any of them break into top 4. I think 6 is wide open. Look, Chelsea and United will get better, but it's how long it takes and how many points they drop in the meantime. We're forgetting, we're sitting here, in general, I know we've not said it, but we're sitting here thinking, United and Chelsea have been shit, but what, is there a point, 2 points between us and them? So how bad are they really? I know we've had tougher fixtures, but if you've got to capitalise when these teams are bad. So let's not act like they're a million miles away, because they're not.
And West Ham haven't been that good. I've watched a couple of their games. I thought, and even Everton, like we spoke about in the WhatsApp group, I think it might have been me and Schwinn, about Silva. Did they lose against? Who did they lose against the other week? Crystal Palace, wasn't it? And we were saying,
Palace first game of the season, and they lost to someone the second game of the season, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. And we were saying, what do we think? Do we rate him? Do we rate him and stuff? But I like Leicester City. I think they got.
They lost to Villa.
Lost to Villa. That's what it was. Yeah, the Villa. It's funny, them three. It is funny. I'd probably put Leicester on top of them three at the moment.
Well, I mean, yes and no. Chelsea carved them apart in the first half when they played them. It could have been 4 or 5-0 up, and then it ended 1-1. And probably, I don't know what side felt happier about it. Both teams could have won it quite comfortably. This is. I mean, look, we're only 4 games in for a start, but it's going to be very difficult to predict. Because, as I said, teams will get better. Some teams will get worse. I mean, I think Wolves are currently sitting in 7th or something, and no one would have seen that. No, I think one of the only they got 2 points, and one of them was off Man United. It's too early to judge it. It's basically what I'm trying to say.
Did they draw yesterday? No, they got.
No, they lost Everton 3-2.
Yeah, Everton. They were up 2-2 at one stage, weren't they?
Well, they weren't up 2-2. It was 2-2.
It was 2-2. Yeah. Hakon Larson, I actually don't think Granite brings anything to the team that other players don't. The most experienced midfielder playing like the one with the least experience. We have to move from him as soon as possible. Guendouzi or Tera at the base, or both. I don't care. Not consistent. He's not happy. Why did Mkhitaryan play yesterday? He was going to join Roma today. That's fair. Very poor from Emery, says Hakon Larson.
Yeah, I generally don't believe they knew.
No, they couldn't have. Couldn't have known.
Well, I mean,
it was late. Might have been late. Like Roma might have been thinking, look, he's going to replace El Shaarawy, who's gone to China. And Roma have not replaced him all summer, which everybody's type of been wondering why. So maybe they'll think we need player. Obviously, need someone there. So he fits the bill, and yeah, I don't think they realised they were going to get him for a loan. I don't know. It's weird, very weird. I'm not complaining, really. I don't think I am yet. Why doesn't the FA suspend or give sanctions to players after games, and will we ever see it? This regards violent contact, diving, etc. I presume he's talking about the Harry Kane incident that we spoke about.
I mean, we do. I saw this question come in this morning, and it's just we do. Violent conduct there's always been a thing. The rule is the referee has to miss it. We probably see it a lot less with VAR because there's no excuse for the ref missing it. And then the rule with diving is if you successfully con the ref into giving you a penalty. That rule came in 2 or 3 years ago, and I think only 2 people have ever been banned from it. One of them was Lanzini, and I'm saying 2 because I'm sure there was someone else, but I can't think who.
Wasn't it Sterling?
Did he get banned?
I have a weird
I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't know. I know Lanzini.
I think it was Sterling. If I'm not wrong, it was Sterling.
Yeah. So, but I mean, again, they're probably them rules are probably going out the window with VAR because the referee has to have missed you cheating, so he must have to missed your violent conduct. But then now VAR would pick that up, or he must have given a penalty and then later seen you dive. But now VAR should see that. So we have had them rules, and they've now been and gone because VAR is meant to deal with that at the moment instead of allowing someone to have a penalty, scoring it, winning the game, and then getting banned after, which doesn't really do anyone any favours. So yeah, them rules have been and gone.
Okay. Is that Tony's gif of the Tony dog? I don't know. Schwinn just put up some message. Fuck you cunts having a chin wag. Look at Schwinn in the fucking chat group talking every cunt. Don't get enough fucking talk on the podcast, mate.
Just trying to get the irrelevant questions out of the way. Don't blame me for not doing your prep.
No, it's very good, mate. It's very good. Well, you were going to do some prep there once upon a time, weren't you? You know, that went out the fucking window. MAA Gunner, what is Emery's identity? Well, we still don't fucking know, do we? Watching Arsenal reminds him of watching PE football, where everyone has a position, but that's it, and we just play gong to score some way or another. I think
someone
a little bit harsh.
I saw a headline from a journalist yesterday, and I don't know who it was. I just saw the tweet. I didn't read the article. And the headline was essentially Arsenal their attacking philosophy is to create chaos and try and benefit from it. And they're like a PE team. This is what reminded me of it, a PE school team, in that you get your best players to do the work and they get you out of trouble. But PE teams don't have managers. And Arsenal are playing an attacking philosophy. This was the headline. I'm obviously it was shorter than this. Yeah. Because I'm working badly. But it was essentially Arsenal attacking philosophy would be exactly the same if there wasn't a manager there. Just sort of getting the ball to the front three and hope that because they're good players and they're better than everyone else that they will do good things.
Remember Klopp's first season at Liverpool? Klopp. Remember his first season at Liverpool? It was just going to be attacking football, try and outscore everyone, and that's pretty much what he had to do because they had just a shocking defence. But then he went out and he did buy a couple of good defenders. So. the next year or two. But yeah, who's more likely to be our next manager? Fuck me, look at these cunts. Some pissed off cunts around here. Who's likely to be our next manager? Do we have to go through all this shit?
You're the one asking the question.
I fucking quit. Okay, thank you for listening to the Clock End Talk, and I'm fucking out of here. Fuck me, man. I'm trying to find some decent questions, boys, because I'm not going to go the negativity route. I don't want to know who our next manager is. I don't care. We've still got fucking a manager in place, okay? Unai Emery. He's the man. He's there. He's doing it. So I don't even think he looks like getting sacked at the moment. So I just don't want to go down that negativity path. Sorry.
Can I flip the question a bit and sort of throw it to you boys? Are you pissed off with the manager based on yesterday's setup, subs, and eventually the result?
For me, he got it wrong marginally, and then he took too long to change it. Pissed off would be strong. I'm pissed off with him a lot, but I think pissed off would be a bit strong to say. But I don't think he got it 100% right, and I think, surprisingly for him, he took way too long to change it.
Yeah, look, I agree. He could have made a few substitutions earlier. The Mkhitaryan sub, and that's the one that's going to stick out to everyone like a sore thumb. But at the time, I stick to what I said. I don't think he was thinking somebody else. It was a quick bang sub. I don't know whether he was unprepared or what the story was. I don't even know. This little things like that, I suppose, do worry you because you I don't want to compare him to Wenger, but it's a little bit where I'm just going to say the organisational stuff. Like, was it actually Emery or was it Freddie? I don't know. I don't know who got Mkhitaryan ready. And said,
I can tell you it had nothing to do with Lundberg, but that's not the sub that bothers me when I say that I'm not best pleased or however I want to word it. For me, we made it very easy for Tottenham to defend by having no one playing in between the lines. So they just dropped deep, allowed minimal space in behind for Laka, Aruba and Pepe. And you can see by our goals, neither of them there was really space in behind or marginal. It was less than 10 yards probably in both circumstances. Whereas if you have a 10, their defence has to pull slightly forward to worry about that guy, whoever it is, and then there allows more space in behind. Or if they don't drop, then you've got a 10 with all the freedom in the world to try and slide the balls in where he sees fit. And I just think it was glaring. Even before the game started, that was my worry, and I think that's what happened in the game. And I was really surprised it took him so long.
I'd rather
a single time where we slid a player in the whole game.
Well, I'd rather them tactics. I'd rather them tactics we played yesterday than the ones I saw against us playing against Liverpool.
Yeah, but there's no point comparing bad with bad, is there?
No, I know, but
that's gone.
At least we had a fucking go. That was fucking shit against Liverpool.
Yeah, as I said, so in answer to your question, Swim, pissed off would be strong, but not. I don't even know. I think even not happy would be strong. Just not pleased is probably a better way of wording it.
Yeah, for me, it's strange as well because I can see the method to the madness as to why we set up the way we did, even to the extent why we didn't quite have a link-up player between the lines. I can see why he did that. I don't agree with it, but I can see why he did that. But when you look at the key events of the game, right, he set up the team so that we can have the front three do their thing. But then we go on to concede one stupid goal and then, of course, a penalty. Both errors driven by players at some point, and also to an extent the system. But I look at the goals we scored, and there's no way that you draw up those goals on the training pitch. So it's so difficult for me. I want to sympathize with the manager because we did well to come back from a 2-0 deficit and really played a very, very good brand of football in the second half, I felt. Really controlled the game, something I did not expect against Tottenham side, even a depleted Tottenham side.
Just to cut in, but we controlled the game without, again, as you said, that both the goals were stuff that you couldn't, they weren't planned. And even when we were controlling the game, I couldn't see, we had all the ball, but I couldn't really see what we were trying to do, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, and that sort of plays into my point that despite having this possession, despite quote unquote being the pragmatists around, there's not a lot of pragmatic or proactivity that's happening or directness that's happening. And for the last season, we kept saying that we need those direct players. We need an expansive style of play. And yes, it will take time to sort of incorporate that, but I haven't quite seen it tick yet. I know it's early in the season. I know Emery hasn't quite found this team yet with all these massive changes that have happened in the summer, and I'm patient. But there are things that worry me when I look at these key events, because you try and set up the team and players to avoid these sort of mistakes and to try and impose your game. And the goals, to me at least, as I said, don't seem something that you can draw up. It happened to be a product of constant pressure. In one case, a missed decision with the handball, or an event that sort of slowed down Tottenham and took their concentration away. But it doesn't really speak to tactical genius. And we've been sold Emery as this tactical messiah who really tweaks and studies the opponent and makes changes accordingly. But when the game rolls around, and in those 90 minutes, I sort of felt my confidence was withering. I was at this peak at the beginning of the game, feeling really good to see these players in action, and it just didn't quite do it for me. And I sort of worry about that.
Well, and just to add to that as well, if he's tactically worked out Tottenham the way he should have done, and he's known that the players they have out, you have to play a 10, because their two in the middle was always going to be Winks and Sissoko. Sissoko's a box-to-box, and Winks is, I don't really know what. I've seen him very similar to Guendouzi. Again, I don't rate Winks. I thought he was very good yesterday. But neither of them are defensive midfielders. So that shouts even more, don't have such a big gap between your midfield and your defence. So, again, it's just backing up your point. But if what we've been sold, the idea of Emery, that's definitely not what we saw yesterday. And again, I'm not going too strong because I wasn't fuming at him. But I think the idea we've been sold from him is maybe not what he is. That's not saying he's not good, even though that's my opinion. But he's not what we've been sold. It's like, for me, when we signed Lacazette, we was sold this predator that gets 35 goals and is always in the box. And in reality, he's not that at all. And that's not saying he's not good. He's a very good link-up man. He holds the ball very well. He works so hard for the team. So he's still very good, but he's not what the idea we were being sold. And I feel very similar about Emery, except I don't think he's very good.
Okay, continuing on, MAA Gunn, he said, I'm not sure if any of you saw it, but there was a clear handball before the Lacazette goal that VAR didn't even check. If it did check it, would they have given the penalty, or would they have let the goal stand anyway?
I mean, of course they would give him the goal, but it wouldn't have turned it over anyway. But of course they'd give him. Like the objective of the game is to score a goal.
Yeah.
Why are they going to punish us?
Just the goal would have stood, as far as I know.
100%. They're not going to punish you and say, "Oh, the other team made a foul." That's like when you play advantage on a foul and score. The ref doesn't go, "Actually, no, you can't have that goal. We're going to bring it back."
Is Granite the midfield for Mustafi? Plays with ability but makes game-costing mistakes. What exactly does he offer? What we can't live without. I know he's good. I'm questioning switching the play, but can't Ceballos do that from the deep with Lucas beside him making up for tackles?
Go on, Schwinn, you take it, because I'll be more positive than you will. So,
look, for me, again, he's a victim of the system. If you're gonna play a 4-3-3, let's take that as, or a 4-2-3-1, whatever you want to call it. I think that's probably a good guess. That's what Emery wants to play with. If you're gonna have Granit Xhaka at the base of midfield, then you cannot possibly have your other two midfielders emptying the midfield. You need at least one of them, because we know he lacks athleticism, right? Look, he's in the team for his experience, for one, because there's no one as experienced in midfield. Secondly, his passing range. Thirdly, you could make a case that he's there for his height, right? Now, experience clearly has been mentioned in the question, and he made a very, very immature decision. So let's not address that even more. We've beaten that horse to death. I think his passing range is something that can be taken over by the likes of Guendouzi. Torreira, for me, doesn't quite cut the mustard yet. Guendouzi is showing signs, and at this rate, I think he'd be ready by, let's say, November, just to throw a timeline out there. The height is an issue.
just to interject on that, I don't think he passes the ball fast enough. Not as in speed of release, as in how quickly the ball moves. I don't think Guendouzi can take over Xhaka. Look, he can do a lot of things better. This is not comparing the two, but I don't think Guendouzi can take over that job.
Look, I have skepticism on that front too, because a lot of Guendouzi's advantage comes from his energy, and we saw that yesterday. Now, if you install him in that base of midfield, you're sort of asking him to reserve that and, be a bit more intellectually turned on than physically. And you are taking something away from his game. And I would be wary as a manager as well, especially when Guendouzi is hitting these heights. So I understand the problem that Emery is facing. But at the same time, if you are making mistakes that are going to cost you points in key games, in the derby, you have to reconsider what you're going to do, and you may try different options. I see merit in a 4-2-3-1 where Lucas and Guendouzi sort of share that responsibility. In defense, Lucas sits back, and in attack, Guendouzi sort of starts play and is the one to take the ball out. And yes, he will have to work on his precision a bit more. Granit, to his credit, is very good at that. The second half yesterday showed that. One particular pass sticks out in mind when he found Pepe through a swarm of Tottenham players. But at the same time, early in the first half, he had an opportunity to release Pepe, and he completely whiffed that opportunity. So, there are trade-offs in that case. And I said at the beginning of the season that I do fear for Granit's position in the team. And it's because of this high-energy, high-intensity team where we're emptying the midfield and leaving players for individual excellence, right? We're hanging him out to dry. There's no point of throwing him in there if you're not going to support him the way he needs to. We made the same argument for Mesut Ozil for years. So why should Granit be any different? I think the quality's there. We've seen it. But we are putting him in situations where he will not excel. And at that point, you can throw in anyone there. And if you're not going to support them well, they are going to struggle. It's the same argument that we've had about the defense that Tony alluded to early in the show. It doesn't matter if it's Senderos or Luis or Mustafi. If you're not going to set them up to succeed, they are going to fail. And that's the same situation with Granit.
Yeah, I mean, I think slightly, well, I agree with a lot of what you said, but I don't think, if you go without him, I don't think you replace what he does. You play a different way. It's like I said when Ramsey left, that you don't replace Aaron Ramsey. We've now got Ceballos, who everyone's hoping that can have a similar effect, but it's certainly not in the same way. He's not going to have the engine. He's not going to score the goals, but he controls the ball a bit more and he unlocks defensive with neat little passes. And I think Granit's very similar, that if you don't directly replace what he has, I don't think you really can, either internally or probably externally. I don't think you can really replicate his passing range. And again, the issue you came up with is that if you replace Granit with if you're going to play exact like for like as we do, whoever you put in that role, as you've just said, be it Guendouzi, Ceballos, Torreira, you're hanging them out to dry. Like, if it's an absolute like for like replacement, no one, even Fernandinho, who's for me probably the best of that type. I know, look, Kante's a better defensive midfielder, but not as useful as the ball. But Fernandinho is probably the best of that type in the last 5 years in the Premier League. Even he'd struggle like crazy at us because you just don't really give him a chance.
Okay, just looking for these questions when you boys were talking. A lot of these questions are stuff that we've already spoke about, so it's no point going on about it again. But I do thank everybody for the questions, but it's not going to fucking repeat ourselves. But MAA Gunners, he's wondering, did we sell Iwobi too early? I'm sure we've spoke about that the other week. The 30 mil, you got to take it, haven't you? Not saying this because he scored yesterday, but we've done. He thinks that we've could have done with a player on the left that can take on his man, so Aubameyang can play more central. I just don't think Emery's got plans for Aubameyang to play central. It's Lacazette. Aubameyang will stick to the wing, I think, left.
As I said earlier, I think the plan is to create chaos. It wasn't like Aubameyang was glued to the left yesterday. It was very loosely on the left, obviously, until the sub was made. And as I said, I can't remember who it was that wrote the headline, but by creating chaos, that is genuinely a tactic. It's one you can't really control yourself, which is the issue. But if people are turning up all over the place, it's very hard for a defence to stop that because you never know where anyone's going to be.
Mm-hmm. That C fella, 1 clean sheet out of 4 games, and that happened to be the only one Chambers has played. I'd look to give him a run against Watford. What do you think, Tony?
No, look, Chambers done very well in that game, but for me, it came against the worst team we played, and they were terrible that day. Look, he's not going to change it unless there's an injury on the international break. We didn't concede a goal against Burnley, or we didn't not keep a clean sheet against Liverpool because it wasn't Chambers there, and the same with yesterday. Leno makes that mistake and Xhaka gives that penalty. No, neither of them change if Chambers is there. For me, it stays as is. I think, look, Chambers done well, but he played against the easiest team.
Sugar Daddy Clay, do you guys have any answers for the mental errors that cost us the 3 points yesterday? Didn't cost us 3, buddy. I suppose, because we only walked away with 1. Would have played further back, kept them from scoring on the first goal. Should have Lana held on to it. Keep up the good work, lads. We spoke about that. That RC fella, he says Pepe really hasn't found his shooting boots yet, as we discussed earlier, but he certainly is able to get himself into great positions. Only a matter of time before he starts banging in the goals. Do you guys prefer him on the left or right yesterday?
Right.
Right, Schwinn?
Same for me.
Okay.
He loves coming inside, so a bigger field of vision from that side.
Yeah. Sandeep says, let's calm down. It's only 4 games. When to see what happens when holding Tierney, Bella and a back. Do you guys think with transfers of El Neni, Monreal and Mickey, we will lose a bit of depth in the squad? Possibly.
I mean, half of that comes down to what I said earlier, that everyone's world class when they're out of the team and not available. The other half, of course, we're losing depth, we're losing bodies, but how many minutes are we losing? And if you look at it compared to last season, yes, we're losing them minutes, but have we replaced them minutes with Nelson, Saka, Willock, potentially Martinelli? So, yeah, look, it's obvious when 3 people walk out the door, then you've got less people, so you've got less depth. But have we replaced, or can we replace the minutes that they played last season? For me, yeah, I think we'll exceed it, because Willock will play more than El Neni massively. He probably already has played more minutes than El Neni played last season. Chambers will probably play as many as Mustafi, or if required, as many as Mustafi did. Nelson probably won't get as many minutes as Mickey did, but he's still there and active. So for me, although less numbers, I think we've replaced it. The amount of playing time is easily replaceable, and it shouldn't affect us too badly.
Mm-hmm. Why is Kolasinac so fucking lazy on the pitch, says Lewis. He's just a big unit. I don't know.
I mean, to be honest, it is like, it's now, what, 3 years into his Arsenal career?
Yeah.
I can't believe he is still not fit enough.
I know. I can't believe he won that fucking Bundesliga. You know, when we signed it, when he came over to us, what was he, left back of the year or something?
I could see it. Like, attacking, when you think of fullbacks, it's always, you think of the attacking ones. And look, he's good going forward. He's very fast. He's very strong. He puts the ball into an area which some people moan about. I don't mind it, because it means he doesn't need to look and he can get it in early. There is going to be big fuck-ups where he could just roll the ball in easy, and he doesn't, because he just puts it into an area. But I can see how he won like such an award, because you go and get 10, 15 assists as a left-back and everyone says how great you are. It's just the nature of the game. We look at the attacking players.
Not the defence.
And that is what it is. I can see it. I'm not saying he was the best left-back in Germany or he is a great left-back, because I don't think he is. But I can see how his type of player... I mean, look, for years people were trying to say Leighton Baines was better than Ashley Cole, because that Baines got a few free kicks, and he took free kicks, so he had a good delivery, scored a few goals from free kicks and corners, whereas Cole was just got up and down the left, never really made any mistakes, never done anything world class in attack. And there was debate in England for years about who should start. And for me, one of them's the best left back ever, and the other one's a bang average Premier League left back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, crazy how some people think at times. And going into crazy, here we go again with Vish. If we go, Vish, you're better than this, mate. Given how relevant we are on Laka and Aubameyang for scoring our goals, is it wise to play playing Powell? Should we not give Reece and Saka a shot at the left wing in order to preserve our two strikers from being burnt out? What the fuck am I reading here? I love you, Vish, but mate, we're 4 games in. Like, that's the first time Pepe, Lacazette and Aubameyang have started. As far as I can go back since we've had Aubameyang and Lacazette, everybody wanted Aubameyang and Lacazette to start together, correct? Pepe comes in. Everybody wants Pepe, Lacazette and Aubameyang. That's all they... And now I don't know. Now we want to give Reece a go. Saka a go. I don't get it.
Do you know what I find very interesting? No one says why did Liverpool start Firmino, Mane and Salah when they've only got Origi on the bench. No one ever says that. Yeah. But with us, it's like straight away. And look, it's not only Vish. I've seen other people say it as well, so I'm not digging him out.
Yeah.
But
I'm not.
People are like, we can't start all of them because we've got nothing behind them. Well, that's the case with Liverpool. And no one ever says, if they drop one of them 3, it's a big thing. Like, fucking hell, why isn't Salah playing? Wow, they've dropped Mane. Oh, they're going to struggle today. No Firmino. With us, it's like, we have to drop one of them because we've only got them 3.
Yeah.
Well, I think the reason this question is asked is because we know that Aubameyang is so much more comfortable centrally, and Liverpool have pretty defined roles for each of those players. I mean, I think in order to answer this question, all you need to do is watch that 2-minute clip that's doing the rounds on Twitter where Mourinho is talking about how we could potentially line up. And that sort of answers all of that here. I don't know if you boys have seen it, though.
No, I haven't seen it. You better share it with me later. Okay, we'll push on here because we've got 30 your questions. Fish says, despite the error for the penalty, Granit had a good game. He distributed Spurs from countering on numerous occasions. LA Man City style, who would be the best midfielder pairing to give balance to the team in our attack and defence. Love the desire and hunger shown today. What else we got? Vish says calmness, composure and clinical finishing was the difference between 3 points and 1 today. We had the chances to make this another 5-2 thrashing in the past, and has international break come too early or at the right time after 2 intense games? Will it disrupt our momentum?
I hate this international break. I think it's horribly timed. But it is what it is. It's always the case. Every year it's after 3 or 4 games, depending on how the calendar falls. So it is what it is. There's nothing you really do about it. In terms of chances missed, maybe I'm not thinking straight. Barring the Kolasinac one, whereas if he leaves it, Aubameyang has a tap in. Did we miss any clear-cut chances? Like, clear chances?
It was a good save on Pepe. He had a good shot there.
Yeah, he made a good save from Guendouzi as well. But then, as we said, Leno made a great save from Son and Kane hit the post. So, again, I think for me, and I might be thinking wrong, but for me, this comes down to, if we scored our chances, we win 5-2. Yeah, but if they score theirs, it's 5-5.
Well, Granit, the free kick was a good save. That's another one.
You expect it to save it.
You can say
that's true, yeah.
Ceballos attempt.
I'm just thinking the shots on target that stuck out, that's all.
Yeah, look, I mean
just Ceballos' attempt from outside the box. You know, those will be classified as chances, but that's not really something you expect to score every day, right?
I think one of my problems with Arsenal so far this season is we haven't really created chances, and that's what we're known for. Every game has been we've not created an abundance of chances. Maybe Burnley we created the most, but we had a couple of bad misses. But in general, we haven't created anywhere near enough. And as I said, I think it's very rose-tinted to say, we could have won that 5-2 if we scored our chances, because Leno doesn't make a worldie, and that's a goal for them. Kane is an inch further and it hits the post and goes in.
Oh, they had good chances as well.
Yeah, look, that's what I mean. I came away from that game not knowing. I started the show by saying this. I didn't know if it was a good result, and I think a fair result probably was the draw in terms of what actually happened and chance creation. We was on top for more of it, but they could have put the game to bed inside the first 40 minutes probably, in all honesty. And then chance-wise, I think it's probably very 50-50 from the top of my head again, and maybe I'm forgetting things.
I think I just thinking. Yeah, anyway. I think did Ericsson have a good chance there?
Well, he had an open goal from 3 yards. He scored it. But according to XG, he only scores that 2/3 of the time somehow.
Oh, does he? Okay.
Oh, Shrin, I've got a question on XG.
Go on.
If a player misses a penalty and then taps in the is it accumulated?
We're up. Stop. You broke out. Ask it again.
If a player has a penalty and misses, and then the rebound falls exactly, say, how Eriksen's chance did, and the player taps it in and scores, does XG accumulate that? So it's a penalty, I think, is about 0.76. Ooh. And then, because obviously they're so consequential, I know everything in football is consequential, but that situation is you couldn't possibly have scored both. So I just wondered.
That's a good question. I'll have to check that up as well. I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
You get back to us. Brad says Granite was poor and he should be dropped, but why is there very little talk about our entire back four? Socrates went for a ball that was never on for the first goal. Luiz plays like he's high, and Klajinac is awful in the final third. I tend to agree with him a little bit. I don't know what it is about our back four, to be honest. It's, I don't know. We swap the players out and still have the same problem. So, as we said earlier, it has to be a system. He also says, I feel for Granite, won't get dropped. His biggest asset for me is his height. All the big teams have one tall mid with a presence. If Xhaka doesn't play, Lucas Guendouzi and Dan or Ceballos are all under 6 foot and weak. Teams might be able to muscle their way through our centre forwards.
I mean, I don't particularly agree with that assessment that we're going to struggle if we're going to have Gwen, Lucas, and Ceballos start. I think it's a lot to do with chemistry. It's a lot to do with energy. We might struggle aerially, but we have two center backs who can win those duels. Leaves space in behind them, but look, if you plan for eventualities, then you can thwart those sort of options. I think it's something that needs to be tried, and I said before this game that I would like to see them three start. I do think Xhaka is a sort of
far away. Ceballos, I think I would have liked to see Ceballos start after seeing. Look, and I said it in my preview. I didn't think he'd start because I was worried about what happened to him mentally in the Liverpool game, and then being dragged off. But he overcome that this game, and he was very. I thought he was very good. So.
I do. Just in response to the question, I do think Xhaka's physicality is a bit underrated by us as a fan base, because again we look at all the stuff he does wrong, or when he gives away fouls we moan about it, but he does provide a bit of a physical presence in front of the defence. If the problem is the ball has to be within 5 yards of him because he's not mobile enough to make it count anywhere else. And the other thing I think we would really struggle with if we're going to try and play out from the back is the amount of stupid free kicks he wins. For me, he's the best foul getter, cheater is probably a better word, in the Premier League. Like, I've commented on this so many times, and I know most people tend to agree that he just wins fouls all the time that alleviate pressure. And I can't remember who it was against. Last season, Guendouzi tried to do the same job. I think Xhaka was out. And because he's seen as being a little bit weaker and he's wiry and he's a young kid, the refs just weren't giving the fouls. And he wasn't doing anything different. But when you knock over a guy that's perceived to be strong, it's like, oh, he must have fouled him because he's strong. He wouldn't go down otherwise. When you knock over a guy that's perceived to be weak, it's like, oh, the guy was weak. That's fair. So I think that, I don't know what the answer is to that, because Torreira suffers from the same thing because he's little. When you knock Torreira over, it's like, oh, yeah, he's just small. It happens. That is a key thing when you're playing out from the back, because sometimes you are in trouble and you just need to buy a free kick. And someone needs to learn to do that if Xhaka isn't playing.
There's a couple here still on Xhaka. The Red Custodian, he's a Patreon member because he DM'd me during the week, so thank you, mate. He says, Xhaka, does the bad outweigh the good if you were the coach, what would you do with him? Keep going on that theme for a minute, because Ivan says, bold prediction, Xhaka no longer a fixture in the starting lineup by Christmas. So I'll just get your thoughts on them too, boys.
I think we're going to answer this the exact opposite, to be honest. Does the bad outweigh the good? I'm not sure. I think it's very close. I think the problem is a lot of our fan base don't see any good. And I think that's why everyone would answer that as yes, but that's because they completely ignore the good. In answer to is this basically the end of him in the team? I don't think so. He may come out for the odd game
by Christmas. So you got a little bit.
I'm not saying he's going to play every game between now and Christmas, and if he gets dropped at Watford next week, everyone's going to go, "Oh, see, Tony was wrong." But he will play more games than he misses between now and Christmas, unless he gets a catastrophic injury.
Schwinn?
Yeah. For me, look, it's starting to be the case where the bad is outweighing the good. I defended Xhaka along with you two boys for the last year and a half, and he has had his moments. And I completely agree with Tony. He's very, very good at protecting the ball. And then a slight bit of contact, and he hits the turf, and lo and behold, we have a free kick, and the pressure is off. He's very good at doing that. But I don't think those are things that you cannot teach other people. And yes, perception will figure, but at this point, I think it's high time we try something else. We try 3 high-energy midfielders and at least see how that goes. And the way things are going, especially when we have a fully fit squad, I think that's a better option to go with than with Grant in the team. I would also agree with the assessment that there are situations where we might need him. And, Emery is that sort of a manager that will play a situational team. But in my opinion, if it was up to Emery, as a universal team, I do not foresee Grant having a starting spot at this rate come mid-season or Christmas even.
So between now and Christmas, obviously injuries aside, does he play or miss the more games?
I mean, look, for now, he continue to have his starting position. It will depend on, Lucas is still not quite 100%. It seems like Ceballos is still being integrated.
I don't think Emery fancies Torreira. I don't know why. I just feel like he's always moving him about and playing him in different weird positions. I just feel like I think someone is there.
I think it's sort of because he doesn't prefer him as the base of midfield, and I sort of understand that. But if he pivots to a double pivot system, I could see him giving Guendouzi and Lucas different responsibilities in attack and defense, and I think that could work, especially with how Ceballos is playing. If Ceballos was not a part of this equation, then I would for sure say that no, Granit stays in the team. But Ceballos brings this injection in the middle of the park, linking those 2 parts of the team, and he will slowly be a fixture that cannot be removed. And I think that will sort of also allow Emery to play around with what's happening behind him.
So I'm going to go a different route. I like Ceballos and I like Guendouzi and I like what they've been doing. I'm a little bit critical of Torreira at the moment, and I think if one's up for option, Torreira's Granit. It's between Granit and Torreira for me at the moment. I think Ceballos and Guendouzi start, and they're your starting 2 every week, and I think Granit will be there just because he is Granit, and Emery's a big fan, and he's got the captain armband and whatnot, and I actually wonder whether Torreira is actually one that might start missing out on a few more games because he's been very poor.
I would agree with you if we were talking about the next 2 or 3 weeks, but I think, of course, we know that Torreira has missed quite a bit of the preseason, and he didn't look 100% fit. And I'm not taking anything away from how bad he was yesterday. I thought he really struggled yesterday. Tried to jump in for balls that were not on, and really left Grant and Guendouzi to do the hard work. And he was a part of that problem.
Sorry to cut you off there quickly, but I remember towards the end of last season, he was actually going downhill, and we blamed the fitness then. They're used to having a break over Christmas and this and that, but he just never found that form that he started at the last season when he first came in. And I think he's just been on a constant. Not a downhill, but he hasn't been nothing to write home about either.
Well, the thing is that with players coming to England and playing their first season, that's sort of consistent. Lacazette struggled with that, and he's of course worked on his physicality a lot more. The reason I think Torreira has a future more than Granit in this team is because of the high energy. I think Emery would be happy to give up some of that quality if he can get that elsewhere, if he can get the legs in, because he's not really going for this tactical and really precise cutting, lines football. He wants that energy. It's that chaos theory that Tony talked about. And when I look at it from that approach, I can see merit in picking Lucas over Granit if he's 100% fit.
Okay. Halls of Marble says, where does Monreal rank amongst the all-time Emirates era defenders? For me, he's our best left back at number one. Tony?
Yeah, I mean, he's not starved off much competition. I think it's cliche in Andre Santos and Kieran Gibbs. So he's our best left back in the Emirates era, but it's kind of by default. No, it's not by default. That's unfair because he has been good, but he's not had to beat anyone really to that accolade. Best in the Emirates era, if you're talking about defensively, I think Sanya was probably better than him. Obviously didn't serve as long, but I think a higher level probably. I think it's fair to say. But yeah, the fullbacks, they would be my pairing of the Emirates era. Who's better? I guess that it's probably a toss of a coin. I think if you put a poll up, it would be pretty 50-50, 60-40. I'd probably prefer Sanya, but I have a lot of love for Nacho. Sad to see him go. Obviously, the time came. It happens. And we wish him well. Well, I wish him well.
Addy Boy, the African football expert, he's come up and says Kolasinac. Fuck me dead.
I didn't even list him in my potentials.
I just fucking broke me fucking head. And have a go at this cunt's name. Kuma Stink Nuts. Yeah, these cunts are real. Like, fuck me. Kuma Stink Nuts says, is everyone hating on Pepe? Silly Arsenal fans. I can't fucking continue, boys. I'm out. Fuck you, Dad. Fair dinkum. Oh, I'll be fucked. Kuma Stink Nuts. He's probably going to DM me and say, it's fucking Kuma. I don't know.
There's no two ways about it.
Is there something else on that twin?
I'm just loading the thread to see if it's you not being able to speak English.
To be fair to Taz, that really is what it is.
Kuma Stink Nuts. Fuck me. Oh, he goes on. Kuma Stink Nuts. I can't fucking do this show. Emery will play after international break. Tierney, Holding, Chambers, Bellerin, a new defence. Thanks for your thoughts, buddy.
Never happening.
Yeah.
Not right after the international break.
Kuma Stink Nuts also says, I think people need to calm down. Arsenal have played 4 games and sit well on table above Tottenham, Chelsea and Man U FC. 2 of these games were tough games, and now we have our new defence coming in.
I mean, to be fair, in all seriousness, had you said to me going into the international break, obviously having played Tottenham and Liverpool, we're going to be above Tottenham, Chelsea, United, I would have bit your hand off.
Yeah, true. That is true. He says we're going to get better. Well, thank you, Kuma Stink Nuts, for your thoughts. Is that all the questions? Kuma Stink Nuts. So have I done them all? I must have done them all.
Yeah, so it seems like it.
Was he number 1 on your list? Quick one. I think that was it. Okay, that's it. Fucking hell. We are out of here. Okay, boys. He's done. Anything else?
Yeah. No.
Right, we'll be back. Actually, got a couple of shows coming up for the international break for our patrons. I'm doing like there's a couple of guys, big Twitter accounts, and you'll see that we threw out one on the blog, I think yesterday before the derby. Kev Gooner, we're just asking a couple of questions, a little bit like Gooner to Gooner that we did on the podcast earlier. So I've got a couple of them shows coming up, and I do apologise, they are only for Patreons only. And keep in mind, though, you can join for Patreons, and look, you can do that for as little as $1 a month. It really is just a donation. I haven't said anything and said, you must pay $5. But with that, though, you go into the draw to win an Arsenal shirt, and you'll continue to win prizes. So at the moment, I think we've got 10 or 11 Patreon members there. So pretty much, it's pretty good odds for an Arsenal shirt, for $1. For every $1 you put in, you get a ticket. So if you put $2 in, $5 in, you get 5 tickets, 2 tickets and whatnot. So, anyway, so that's for patrons. Also check out the blog as well, because we've got, that bloke that does all the mad Twitter stuff, the Lacazette. He goes by the Twitter handle Lacazette.
The edits.
All the edits and stuff that he does. So he's also done one. He'll probably come out tomorrow on the blog. I think Gurner Gimley, he's going to do one on the podcast. Charlie Shanks Art, he's going to pop on the podcast as well. And Gooners.com. So, yeah.
And Jack.
Oh, and Jack the plug, yeah, so he's going to do one as well. So we've got a couple of things coming up, so keep an eye out for that over the international break. Okay, boys, catch us later. We're out of here. See you, Schwinn.
Thank you very much.
Adios.
See you, and good night, and see you later, old stink nuts. Righto, good night. See you.